This is the story of Latasha Harlin. March 16, 1991, 15-year-old Latasha Harlin entered the Empire Liquor Store, but she did not leave the store alive. The Empire Liquor Store was located in South Central Los Angeles, California. The Du family owned the store. They were Korean. Billy was Soon Ja-doo's husband. Her husband and son normally staffed the store, but on March 16, 1991, Ms. Du was staffing the store. A little before 10 a.m. that Saturday, Harlins enters the store. Ms. Du observed Harlins put a bottle of orange juice in her backpack. She, in her mind, seemed to think that Latasha was trying to steal the orange juice. She saw Ms. Harlins put the orange juice in her backpack, and she concluded that Harlins was trying to steal orange juice. What then transpired next is how you listeners perceive the story. Ms. Du claimed to have asked Latasha, was she intending paying for the orange juice? Ms. Du claims Latasha replies, what orange juice? But there were two witnesses, who say that was not what Latasha stated. The two eyewitnesses claim that Ms. Du called Latasha the B word, as in female dog, and accused Latasha of trying to steal the orange. When looking at the footage, you can see Ms. Du grabbing Harlin by her sweater and snatching her backpack. Harlins then struck Ms. Du with her fist twice. The blows knocked Ms. Du to the floor. Latasha backs away, but Ms. Du throws a stool at her. Latasha picks up the orange juice bottle and puts it on the counter. Ms. Du snatched the bottle from her, and Latasha turned to exit the store. Ms. Du reached under the counter and grabbed a revolver and fired a shot at the back of Latasha's head. The bullet struck Latasha Harlin in the back of the head and unalived 15-year-old Latasha Harlin instantly. Billy, who is Ms. Du's husband, heard the gunshot outside. He rushed in the store, spoke to his wife, and then dialed 911 to report an attempted holdup. The police concluded, after talking to eyewitnesses and looking at the store video, that Latasha was intending on paying for the orange juice and not trying to steal it. Ms. Du was charged with slaughter. At the trial, Ms. Du testified on her own behalf and claimed self-defense and that she thought her life was in danger. The statement the witness gave and the video evidence did not support Ms. Du's claim at all. The jury recommended the maximum sentence. The judge overruled the recommendation, and Judge Joyce Carlin, who in my opinion, I heard that she was retired, so I'm glad she's not a judge anymore, because this is crazy. Like, she didn't even think about, what if it was my 15-year-old kid that went in there and he or she was drugged across the counter and someone was going in their stuff. Judge stated her decision was because Ms. Du's actions were under extreme duress and that Ms. Du would never commit a serious crime again. This judge acted like this lady slapped somebody and that person got up. She unalived a person, a human being that was living before she entered that store. And she didn't have a weapon. And then the state appeals held up Judge Carlin's decision, knowing that if that was their own child, there would be no slap on the wrist and no $500 fine. The tragic event led to tension in the American community and in the community. I'm saying Black and Asian. In South Central, this case and the Rodney King verdict are what led to the 1992 LA riots. The mayor estimated 65% of all businesses damaged were Korean owned. That Empire Liquor was looted and burned down. It being Empire Liquor, it never reopened as that, but it did reopen and somebody else reopened it as something else. The Los Angeles District Attorney issued a policy at the Harlin's trial that disallowed Harlin from judging felony cases that involve violent crimes. Harlin would win a seat on California Supreme Court. Harlin's retired in 1997. This is my take on this story, guys. Harlin's was a kid and was unalived by an adult. Not by hand, but by a firearm that was not present on top of the counter. Meaning this person had to think of where this was and then reach for it and then shoot the gun. To me, that is premeditated. That you had to go under something to get something. And then a person has turned their back, no longer a danger to you. And you shoot them in the back of the head, let alone a 15-year-old child, which you could have called the cops if you felt endangered. You could have called somebody, your husband in the store or someone, to help you to resolve the situation. Premeditated, you decided to go under the counter when someone had their back turned because you were angry, and to shoot them in the head was the best decision for you. Not only does she need psychological help probably to this day for doing that, but you literally took someone's kid and dragged them across the counter to go into their backpack while they have money in their hand intending on paying for what is you saw in their backpack. Evidently, she wanted you to see the orange juice. You saw it, her put it in her bag, and she went to the counter to give you the money. What should have happened was, you observed her anyway. You should have continued to observe her, let her come to the counter, close your mouth, and see what she was going to do. It was just orange juice. You act like she reached for the cash in your cash register. It was orange juice and she was 15. And the least you could have done was call the cops and let them know that you were suspicious about someone in your store if it was that serious. But the fact that the cops and the jury and the witnesses all have the same story from the video tells me that you were so angry at a kid, meaning you were immature. Something hadn't grown in your mind for you to reach under a counter to shoot a 15-year-old. People don't think about other people's children. It doesn't matter until the shoe is on the other foot. And the judge saying she'll never commit another crime like this again. The judge didn't care about the child. But it's not until the shoe is on the other foot and somebody has your child grabbed across the counter going into their stuff. Don't know if the kid has asthma, what's going on, just dragging somebody across the counter. And that child trying to get them off of her. That's what she knew as a 15-year-old. She grew up in a rough neighborhood, of course. I mean, what do you expect from somebody like that? Everybody doesn't grow up in the suburbs. Everybody doesn't grow up the same way. When somebody puts their hands on you, most of the time in a certain community, you're taught not to allow that to happen. And I'm talking about my community. No, I didn't grow up in the hood, but in my community, if someone puts their hands on you, you defend yourself. She grabbed her first, and she was only defending herself the best way she knew how as a 15-year-old child. So you're telling me an adult, which mine has developed into adulthood, has been through some things, has a kid and a son who is running the store, doesn't have complete sense enough to know you don't grab somebody else's child across a counter and expect that child not to have an outburst, not to hit you. People come from different walks of life. You cannot treat people how you feel like you should treat them. You must treat people the way you would like to be treated in a situation. If someone is bothering you and you own a store, if you feel like you're in danger that bad, call the cops unless they have a weapon and you know their intentions are to do something to you. This child had no weapon, only a 79-cent bottle of orange juice. She had $2 in her hand. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. She was not planning on doing anything to this lady, but she did defend herself. And I guess the lady felt bad because she fell trying to hit a 15-year-old. And she decided she was so angry and she was so not adult-like in a child's mind. She decided when the child turned away to shoot her in the head. That was the best way for her to go. And the judge, again, not thinking about, maybe I'll have a kid one day, or maybe she did have kids. What if that was your child? Saying she was in duress. What about the child when she grabbed her across the counter? She wasn't in duress? That's why she hit her? She's shocked and scared. She's 15 years old. People got to think these things through. And it might have been a long time ago, but stuff is still going on today. And then people wonder why they get their ass kicked. It's just on the case, and I'm always on the case. My take on this story is she was shot over some orange juice.